This is the Major League Baseball Top 10 Catchers List, presented by Empire State of Baseball, our ESB 2024 player rankings ahead of the upcoming season. And once again, we are doing another countdown. We have Corey Favs and we have Tom joining us for today's countdown as we talk about the great players behind the plate. And we're going to get into our top 10 shortly. So no Joe for today's episode. We have Corey and Tom. But Corey, let's kick this off. What are the first 10, not first 10, but the first 3 catchers we want to talk about here in our top 10?
Yeah, rounding out our list at number 10, we have a postseason hero from last year with the Diamondbacks. That's Gabriel Moreno. The young catcher really had a nice year. Gold Glove Award winner as well with the Diamondbacks in his first year. Decent year at the plate, too. You know, he's going to give you around a 280 or so average. Little bit of pop, as you saw in the postseason with 4 home runs. Had 7 home runs total last year. So, again, young catcher, only 24 years old as of this year. So he'll be, a nice guy to round out that top 10. And then you go from the young catcher to the veteran catcher, and that is Wilson Contreras of the St. Louis Cardinals. And Contreras has had a very nice career. He had that long run with the Cubs earlier in his career, then came over to St. Louis last year, where he actually had a decent year. I know he wasn't an all-star last year in his first year in St. Louis, but did have 20 home runs, 67 RBIs. 826 OPS. That's a pretty good OPS, especially for a catcher. So Wilson Contreras clearly still has it, and that's why he makes our top 10 list in the 9th spot. And then at number 8, we have Jonah Heim of the Texas Rangers. Again, this guy is another Gold Glove winner, so both Gold Glove catchers have made our top 10 list from the National and American League. And this is also a World Series champion. So we saw Jonah Heim and Gabriel Moreno go head-to-head against each other in the World Series last year. And Jonah Heim, again, solid catcher. He's a switch-hitting catcher, too, which is nice to see. Still pretty young at just 28 years old. So he's like right in the middle of his prime. 18 home runs, 95 RBIs last year for the Texas Rangers. So very solid year for Jonah Heim. Guys, what are your thoughts on our initial of the top 10?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good start here. I like Heim. He definitely, you said Gold Glover last year, league average hitter, and the way the catching game is in baseball nowadays, if your catcher is a league average hitter, it's a big plus for you offensively, especially being a switch hitter. He's someone who, again, kind of started to click really last year, and he could be someone who probably not going to be in the All-Star game yearly because of someone else coming up later in our list, but he could be battling for that second position in the AL for the next few years for sure.
Absolutely, and when I look at the first 3 here. I do love Gabriel Moreno at the 10th spot, and you got to remember how the Diamondbacks acquired Moreno, and it was not just Gabriel who came over from Toronto. It was also Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Yep. And Dalton Varsho sent to the Blue Jays in that deal, and Varsho didn't really have a great 2023 campaign with the Blue Jays, but the Diamondbacks, I felt like, got a great package out of it between Gurriel and Moreno and helped charge them to get all the way to the World Series, unfortunately losing to Jonah Heim's Texas Rangers. But Moreno had a great postseason, and last year's numbers for the young catcher with Arizona, Gabriel hit 284 with 7 homers and 50 RBIs, and that was in just 111 games, but Moreno also was not entering the season as a starting catcher. This year, he is the Diamondbacks starting catcher to kick off the 2024 campaign, so a lot to look forward to with Gabriel Moreno come the 2024 season. So, guys, let's get to the next part of the list, and I'll break down who we're talking about next, our next trio of catchers. In the number 7 spot, we have Cal Raleigh, the big dumper, all dumpy himself. And Cal Raleigh kind of bursted onto the scene in 2022, most notably for that massive walk-off home run that sent the Seattle Mariners to their first playoffs. And
they're going to say massive something else.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a PG show, and we're not going to talk about that. But in his 2023 season, he improved off that breakout year, 30 homers, 232 batting average. Cal Raleigh looking to continue that with a charged up Seattle team. And at number 6 spot, Francisco Alvarez joins the list. Alvarez in his rookie season very solid year for a catcher. Alvarez, obviously, one of the things that you look forward to come the 2024 season is seeing that batting average go up. He hit 209 last year. For a catcher, you take 25 bombs any single day. He's at the number 6 spot. And in the number 5 spot, we have William Contreras, Wilson's brother. So we got the 2 Contreras boys represented on our countdown, and both awkwardly playing for the same division. So that's gotta be some fun dinner table conversations with the Contreras family. But William cracking our list at the number 5 spot. Corey Faz, when you look at this 3, who do you want to talk about more?
Oh, I definitely have to give a shout out to Francisco Alvarez. Being a Met fan, watching him last year, really came on strong too. And 20, like I said, 25 home runs. You take that from pretty much any catcher in the league, outside maybe a couple. So really nice first full season for Alvarez. I think the biggest thing with him that I would like to see in this coming season is just a little more consistency. He only hit 209 last year, and that was due to a really poor start. And back when he got the initial call up in April and early part of May, they kind of jerked him around a little bit. Was only playing him briefly. Then he eventually took over the everyday role, and really that's when he started to take off. Hit a couple of cold spots, so I do want to see that 209 maybe go up to 230, 240. Again, this is not a guy I'm expected to be a 300 hitter, but it is a guy I expect to hit 30-plus home runs from behind the plate this year. So I think it'll be a nice year for Alvarez. He's got a shot to crack the top 5 if he's more consistent throughout his second full season.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at the big dumper, Cal Raleigh. 57 home runs over the last 2 years, and that is fantastic. You will absolutely take that from the catching position. Not a ton of batting average there to go with it, but again, the offense from catchers is so lacking across the league that you will absolutely take those home runs. And he's a guy that if he can continue to do that, he'll be an impact part of that Mariner team that I know a lot of people are excited about this year.
Yeah, so a good trio to talk about there. Tom, I know you want to touch on the next 3 that we have up here. So let's talk about our 4-3-2 spots as we're rounding down the catcher list.
Yeah. So coming at number 4, we have the Phillies' JT Realmuto. Definitely someone who is a impact bat in a lineup. We talk, these next 3 guys aren't the typical light hitting catchers. Absolutely. He is coming in again at the 4 spot for us. Last year he had 22 homers. Again, he had his OPS plus was better. 2 years ago, 20 home runs last year for Realmuto. Coming in at the 3 spot, we have Sean Murphy. So his division mate, again, another guy who's frankly been trending nicely. He is in his 5 seasons in the big leagues. 4 of them are over 100 OPS. 4 of them are over 120 OPS plus. So he is a very good offensive catcher for sure. On a team with the Braves, a lot of people think could be in the World Series. And then rounding it out, we have Will Smith. Another guy, again, I think the differentiator between these 3 and the previous 6 are these guys are real sticks in the lineup. Will Smith is someone who is going to be hitting, in impact spots in that Dodger lineup. First time All-Star last year, which I was a little surprised about. I thought he would have made some All-Star teams previously, but last year was his first, and I'm sure it'll be the first of many for young Willard Smith.
Young Willard Smith. Remember when he hit a home run off of Will Smith in the postseason? That was cool. Love that. Love that for baseball. Yep. And like Ripley's Believe It or Not. But one catcher I would love to talk about here is the one in the middle, and that is Sean Murphy of the Atlanta Braves. And Sean Murphy, once again, putting in an offensive display at the catcher position. 21 homers, 68 RBIs, a 251 batting average. And again, you take that from your catcher and any day of the week. All-star for the first time last year in 2023. He's got a Gold Glove under his belt. And I'm sure he's extra happy to be out of Oakland. I know there were so many moving parts to get him to the Atlanta Braves. But Sean Murphy looks to be a mainstay for this Braves lineup to come. So I got to highlight Sean Murphy there in that 3 spot. How about you, Corey?
Yeah, and before we get to our number 1, I just want to give a shout out to JT Realmuto. And I know, again, this is a guy who's 33 years old. He's going to turn 34. he's still a stud. I don't care if his numbers have started to dip. And his OPS last year, outside of his first season in 2014, where he only played 11 games, it was actually his second lowest OPS of his career. But I don't care. This guy is still a stud. I would still fear him coming to the plate. Still plays against me with the rival Phillies. So I get to see firsthand how good of a player he is. So until age really starts to take its toll on JT, he's still a top catcher in my book.
All right. Well, Corey Favs, we've gone through the 9 catchers here. We're missing a pretty big, significant one. Oh, number 1. We're missing our number 1 catcher that brings, selfishly, a bit of a smile to my face for my own selfish reasons. But Corey Favs, who is the number 1 catcher in all of baseball entering 2024?
Yeah, and our number 1 catcher, and I think it was pretty much universal on our list, it's Adley Rutschman, the young catcher. I mean, he is just 26 years old. He really had a phenomenal year in year 2, a 277 average, 20 home runs, 80 RBIs, OPS of 809. He was an all-star. He was in the MVP conversation, ended up finishing 9th. Again, no one really thought he would win the MVP, but the fact that he was in the conversation for the now solid Orioles team, won a Silver Slugger award at the position. I mean, this is exactly what you want at the catcher spot. Another one who's a switch hitter too. I mentioned, before, you don't really see switching catchers too often. So Adley gives you power from both sides of the plate there. Really well-deserving number 1. The Orioles are a good team now. They finally turned the corner after half a decade of terrible baseball, and Adley Rutschman's a big reason why.
Yeah, he's a guy who's probably going to be a perennial all-star, for the Orioles for the next decade probably. He's been so good, getting MVP votes. He's a guy who honestly, if the Orioles do make a deep run one year, I could see him as a guy that does win an MVP from the catcher position, similar to what Joe Mauer did, 15 or whatever years ago. So yeah, definitely an impact player. Good bat, calls a good game. Seems like the pitchers like him. Kind of a face of the franchise guy on a team that has a lot of face of the franchise youngsters. So, he was probably be number 1 for the next few years on our list. Rich, you're not going to have to make a lot of edits next year, I think, to the number 1 spot. I think Adley's probably going to be there.
I agree.
Oh, absolutely. And Tom, and for Thompson and I's sake, as a Yankee fan, he's going to be part of a young trio of Baltimore Orioles that are going to cause nightmares for Yankee fans and Yankees pitching, with Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson and Jackson Holliday for the next 5, maybe 10 years. And I love that idea, Tom, him possibly winning an MVP. That is music to my ears. Rutschman was the first pick of a keeper draft this year, so I'm hoping for the best for Adley Rutschman, but not too far. Obviously, I want him to crush it, but not against the Yankees, but crush it against everybody else. That'd be fantastic. All righty. Well, with that said, gentlemen, I think we could put the end to our top 10 list for catchers. And for our fans out there, as we close out today's episode, make sure that you like this video, that you share this video, that you're subscribed to us over on YouTube, Empire State of Baseball. Show us that love and support. And we have more countdowns for you to come. So make sure to stay tuned as we will close out now with our top 10 catchers for 2024. Take care.